So today, Hugging Face released kind of a Christmas present, and they released their small LLM 2 models. And then so their small LLM models are very small models, very small for LLM models. I can't state this enough. Most people don't understand exactly how big LLM models are. An unquantized 7 billion parameter model is not going to run on 99% of consumer computers. I mean, flat out, you're just not going to even be able to load the model onto it. Even if you were able to load the model onto it for inference, you'd be talking like a minute, 2 minutes for it to even do anything. So these small models, and this one is the smallest one that they release, 135 million parameters. I love these models because they allow you to play around with these things and to actually do things with them without having to tax hardware, right? And then I can't state enough how much that allows you to actually do things. Like there's a lot of stuff that I would like to play around with and I test out with a pre-trained model, but it's like, well, I can't. I'm not really trying to go through the exercise of testing all of this on a 7 billion parameter model. It's a lot of work to do it and then to change it. And then, okay, let's make this tweak, this modification, and then let's go through and test. With these 158 million parameter models, it makes it really easy. And then so I'm going to show you in this video, we're going to take this small LLM model and we're going to take it from the base model and then we're going to inject it with some steroids. And then we're going to turn this model into a GPT-01 clone by the end. Like your personalized GPT-01 clone that you could run on your cell phone and would be very simple to do. And so let's get started. Very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to load the base model itself and then just demonstrate the effects of that. And then we're going to use the same prompt throughout all of this just to keep our experimentation the same. And the prompt that we're going to use is gravity is. And then so very straightforward. You can see here, I've already loaded the model in and it's literally just picking the model. In this instance, it's the small LLM 2, 135 million parameter model from Hugging Face. I'm setting on by default max tokens to 100 tokens, just so it'll produce quickly. And then everything else is straightforward. We're gonna default device map as auto. I don't have any sort of CUDA or GPU enabled in this instance, so no CUDA. And then otherwise, it's just very straightforward, right? Load the model and then gravity is. And then so when we load the model in this instance, gravity is the force that holds the Earth and the Moon together. The Moon is a satellite of the Earth. It is a rocky body that orbits the Earth. The Moon is only natural satellite of the Earth. The Moon is a satellite of the Earth, et cetera, right? And then so this repeating pattern is a problem with small models overall, right? Phi3 is the very first model where I've tested where you notice this instance, and there's no way to get it. It's hard to get it out of these models, right? And then so our goal in this instance then is going to be to get this out of the model. We don't want the model to just repeat its outputs. And then so we're going to try to do some different things here. And then so the different things that we're going to do is we're going to test different papers and research papers that have come out within the last month. And then these are what everyone is talking about right now, right? And then so what everyone is talking about right now is how do we replicate GPT-01 from an open source level? Just flat out, right? And then we've kind of gotten it down to two concepts and two candidates, differential attention and entropics. And then so I'm going to go over both of these concepts. We're going to inject both of these concepts into the model and we'll see how it performs and then build a test it. And we'll be able to see, is differential attention better? Is entropics better? Is both better? And then so for the first time, really for me as a researcher of my caliber, being able to do this type of experimentation. And I'm excited to do this. So with differential attention, the very first thing is that we have to we're adding our differential attention layer onto the model, right? So we're building out differential attention, which is just all math, right? Flat out. It's just all mathematical equations and defining the math for differential attention. And then so in this instance, differential attention is essentially like it's a selective attention is the best way to put it, right? We're telling the model to only pay attention to certain things and certain concepts. And then differential attention, it's a pretty cool concept. It loads two softmax layers, and then essentially it recognizes the patterns in between the two softmax layers, and then drops the unnecessary patterns of attention. So it's like addition by subtraction is the best way to put it. For me, it's like a kind of, from an engineering perspective, very brilliant solution. But it is more computationally efficient and allows the model to perform better in a lot of instances. And then so that's just what we're doing here. So you can see all of this is like adding on for differential attention, right? So we have to just put this big bolt on the code, and then we have our basic code, and then gravity is. And then in this instance, it's, I mean, the same output. Like there's no difference here, right? And then so differential attention in and of itself doesn't do anything and doesn't change anything within these modeled outputs. And then so now we know that, right? And so next step would be, let's move on to entropy-based differential attention, which is slightly different, right? So in the original, we have our original math for differential attention, but then we're adding this additional math for entropy. And then entropy is really like, think of it like a reward mechanism, right? Like how much do you want the model to explore and utilize creativity versus how much do you want it to just stick to its training? And then that's what entropy is. High entropy, it's going to explore, it's going to create more creative outputs. Low entropy, it's going to stick 100% to its training and what it knows. And that's really it, right? And then so that's what we're doing here. And then so there's some math here, like there's a little bit of math there, a little bit of math here. And then we're just essentially just adding this a little bit of additional math throughout for entropy. So this is differential attention plus entropy. And then when we get to our results here, it's like same type of results, right? I don't see a difference in this. I will say that changing the prompt will change this. So if I use a different prompt than gravity is, I want to use the same prompt for this video and in this to showcase this, but highlighting it will, like, so if I change this to once upon a time and I use once upon a time throughout this prompts, it's going to change the values of this and the experimentation of this. This is just one instance of this experimentation. And that's an important part to highlight within this too, right? But so that's our output here. And then so next step would be, let's try, okay, these are the top two candidates right now for GPT01, but before GPT01 and still the big concept that people talk about a lot is mixture of experts, right? Like a MOE model. And then so let's create a mixture of experts model then in this instance. And then so this is pretty cool and pretty straightforward, right? So in this instance for our mixture of experts model, I'm utilizing very simple and straightforward logic. I'm loading the model 3 times, just 3 instances of this model because it's small enough to do that. And then I'm utilizing entropy to average out the outputs of the models, right? And then so just I'm not like I'm utilizing a more simple mathematical equation than just simple averaging, but it's like kind of like one step up from that, right? Like this is a simple fusion mechanism, just showcasing how to do this, and then to essentially load the 3 models, fuse their outputs together, and then our response is the fusion of that output. And in that instance, the fusion is CTOR is the, right? And then that's the full fusion that we get out of this. We have a lot of work to do with mixture of experts, and then in this fusion mechanism in this particular instance, and then I'm leaving this and highlighting this and showcasing this in this instance. When it comes down to mixture of experts models, it's very simple and very easy to create a mixture of experts model, right? In this instance, we have this model and then we load 3 instances of it. All of a sudden, we have a mixture of experts model. But very simple. But how exactly do you want it? Do you want it to actually like generate good outputs or coherent outputs? That's a lot harder to do, right? And then so step 2 from there is fine tuning, and that's where it all comes down to that fusion mechanism. And a lot of so when it comes down to mixture of experts and multimodality, both of them have this same problem, and they both come into this same place of fusion. And it's like a Rubik's Cube, right? And then so just highlighting this overall, because this is to me a fun and interesting side part of AI that's currently being explored as well, right? Like, what's the best ways to build out these fusion mechanisms? There's a lot of play here in this area very specifically still. But so lastly, let's get to something that's like actually entertaining within this video, right? And then so I'm going to highlight this last method. It's entropics. And then so entropics is, I was turned on to this by the Hugging Face staff specifically, is where I've seen anyone testing this out. It's still like very like kind of like under the rug as far as what entropics is, how it works, but it's just entropy-based attention, right? And then so we're just creating an entropy-based attention mechanism, kind of like what we're doing with our entropy-based attention mechanism up here, but entropics is a different framework entirely, right? So it's putting it here, we've got our custom entropic sampling function, and then we're calculating the entropy, and then it's a lot of mathematics with regards towards the entropy, and then we're adding this parallel chain of thought processing, right? And that's the whole point of this, is that so the model is like self-prompting itself multiple times, etc. The goal of this flat out is we think that this is a lot of the logic behind GPT-01. Like that like self-prompting, the getting it to go through, right? Like that chain of thought processing. Entropics is what it is, right? So essentially in this code, it's tracking the entropy of the next possible tokens. It's dynamically adjusting the sampling behavior based on the entropy level. And then it's using parallel chain of thought decoding by generating multiple reasoning paths. And then so this is the same model that we loaded up here at the top, right? Our 158 million parameter model. And then we go through, and then boom, gravity is external to us. We observe it in a physical form, conducting the reaction of magnets toward lighter objects and pulling away or accentuating those opposing objects. To be computer detected exists in the nervous system, such as analysis and detection has been responsible for much novel and advanced medical forensics. Although we don't know what is labeled solely as weightlessness about our body, I notice enough that the fact that we feel weightless. Of course, we feel weightless whether we really are there. So this output is interesting, right? But it's there's a lot that could be said about this output overall. This is an output from my 158 million parameter model, and this is a chain of thought output from 158 million parameter model, which would be 3 months ago, six months ago, absolutely unheard of. Like this, the model wouldn't even be able to produce anything coherent whatsoever. And the fact that we're getting something here as far as chain of thought reasoning, this is reasoning chained together. It's not fully coherent, right? There's gaps in this reasoning, obviously, and I don't know what the model is exactly saying here. I'll leave it up to interpretation. Like there's a lot of ways to interpret this, right? But so we can see that it's definitely something going on here, and then definitely steroids in this model, right? And then so I just this is what I want to highlight and showcase this particular video on. If you've gone through this video and you've understood these concepts and everything that's going through here, look at this out. I mean, we've turned 158 million parameter. First of all, this is a 158 million parameter model, so we have to give props, right? That it's able to actually even produce these outputs. Gravity is the force that holds the Earth and the Moon together. The Moon is a satellite of the Earth. It's a rocky body that orbits the Earth. The Moon is the only natural satellite of the Earth. Cool. And then we can turn that, and then we can give it some steroids, and we get Gravity is external to us. We observe it in a physical form, conducting the action-reaction of magnets towards lighter objects and pulling away or accentuating those opposing objects. And that's a sentence that would I'd get from like Llama or a higher model, right? So I'm just showcasing that there. Really cool. Hope you've gotten something out of this. I'll leave a link to the description for this Colab notebook in particular. And if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.